Okay, so we're talking about a risk approach, right? And we said that first step is to identify risk, different risk that can happen. Then you need to have a risk management approach, right? So some risk, maybe it's not, it doesn't cost you more, right? It's not that bad, so you will not have any plan for it. Okay, so say, let's, for example, before work from home, internet, uh, people had only one internet connection, right? So even it goes away, I mean, you're not going to lose. But now people working from home, so sometimes you will have two internet connection, right? If one goes away, because the earlier it wasn't that probably important to think about internet, but now it has become more important. So if it is not important, the if you can live with the risk, you will live with the risk. Why to spend time, money to fix it, isn't it? Then second thing is that you have a plan. Okay, if this occurs, if this occurs, this is what we're going to do. This is how we are going to do. Right? And to have a detailed plan. Third, we said that okay, your risk avoidance is I'm not going to have any. I mean, I'm not going to do it. Okay, so if I don't do it, I will not run into any risk, right? So this is another extreme end where you don't want to do a project because you see there is a risk and you don't want to get into that risk. Okay, then we talk about risk transfer, right? So you transfer the risk to some other person. Generally, it will be your insurance companies which will take the risk. So you avoid it, you accept it, you have a mitigation plan, or you totally transfer it. These are different approaches. Then we talk about risk planning. Okay, so risk planning is okay, thinking about when you talk about mitigation, right? Mitigation is where we have to devote our time, right? Avoidance, anyway, you're not doing it, so not required. You are taking hit, okay, you're not preparing for it. Insurance, transferring it to the insurance companies. Again, the insurance companies will have plan. You don't have to have any plan. Only when it is mitigation, so those risks which you plan to mitigate is where you will focus for PMC, planning, monitoring, control. So planning talks about, okay, how do you plan for a risk? So you identify the risk, okay, and you'll probably put them in a broad classification, right? So here it says change management or new technology, or difficulty of implementation, technically not feasible, right? You run into, see, if it's not feasible, you can't do anything. But let's say you don't have capability to technically achieve it as a company, right? Then what you do? There's an important project and you can't let it go, right? So you will hire people with the technology. So that is your plan. Okay. So first you identify the areas and then you have a plan for it. So plan is not one time, okay? Not only for risk management, for anything, okay? Planning is not that, okay, you plan and then you do nothing, right? Second thing is that you have to continuously monitor it, okay? Monitor means what? Whatever plan that you created, is it working? Is it working as per your expectation, right? That's called monitoring. And finally, you're taking control. Control is if it is not, okay, if there's a deviation, okay, and sometimes things can change, right? So you need to change your plan also, right? So that's what we call planning, monitoring, and finally control. So this is what we do for risk management, right? So this one slide talks about the risk approach. With that, we finish the planning for elicitation, right? What we've been talking about so far is planning for elicitation. Okay. Now we are getting down to our real BA work. The core BA work is going to start now. Okay. Again, we are down to ground level, but still we're talking about planning and getting ready and understanding what is enterprise analysis, business case, things like that. But this is what you actually perform as a BA. So what is elicitation, right? We generally interchangeably use with gathering. Okay, so gathering is same as this. Okay, but what we are doing here is, okay, we are not doing gathering. Okay, okay, gathering means what? It is there, okay, and you are picking it up, correct? And that's not the right way to do it, right? That's not, I mean, requirements will not be lying on the floor, correct?
Yes.
So you know, so you have to work for it. That's what it says. It says that you will have to draw forth, okay, or call forth, draw, bring out or draw out. Okay, what is, okay, so I'll just let you read this. Okay, read this slide and then we'll talk about it.
Yes, Saurabh. Done, sir.
Then, so do you want to summarize what you understood?
Yeah.
Yes, tell me.
Elicitation is not simply a requiring, like gathering requirements. It is a key task in the business analysis. Like it is most important task, like understanding the requirements clearly, completely, and correctly. So before we going to the next step, this will help. If we don't concentrate on this step, maybe it will be problem in the future, to finding the solution. So if we want a clear solution for the whatever the stakeholders needs, so we need to gather the requirements in this stage clearly and consistently. That's what I.
Yeah, so I like to give this example of restaurant. Okay, so when you go to a restaurant, you have waiters, right, who will take your order. So there's some waiter who will just stand next to you and will ask, okay, tell me your order, and whatever you say, that fellow will note it down and go to the kitchen. So that is called requirements gathering. Okay, you are there, customer gave you, you took it, and you give it to the kitchen. Okay, elicitation is different. So you will ask the question, right? You want to make sure that your customer goes happy. Now, let's say I go to a French restaurant. I don't know anything about French food. Just by looking at the menu, if I order something, okay, definitely I'm not going to, 99% chances that I will end up being not satisfied, right? Not happy.
Yes.
So the job of the, you know, the waiter has to be to ask, okay, what's your taste? Oh, you're from India, so probably you like something like this. So this dish is very similar to. So they will ask you questions to make sure that you choose the right item from the menu. Okay, and then see both the case, they are doing the job, right? So we don't want to be the first type of waiter. Okay, so role of a BA is the role of waiter itself. Okay, you're taking the requirements. Okay, you're taking the order from the stakeholders and giving it to the technical team, right? So waiter also takes the order from the customers and give it to the kitchen staff, right? The chef will prepare. They don't prepare, they just note it down, right? But the role or like the importance of BA comes in when you are able to work like the second type of BA, where you're trying to understand the customer's real requirement. Again, remember the picture which I showed you when we started talking about the requirement, second slide, first
Yes.
picture. Okay, so of course there are problems, okay, but the main problem is customers also doesn't know what they want, right? Customers come to you and customers may not know, I may not know what kind of French food I might like. Okay, not rather, even if you go to Indian restaurant, okay, you don't know which food you might like and you may not like, right? Because every restaurant has some specialty, right? So when
Yes.
you say, the waiter has to ask you right questions, make right suggestions, okay, should be able to um, convey or tell you the right dish to order based on your taste and things like that, right? So that's called elicitation. So you are trying to bring forth, bring out, okay? It is as if, the waiter is ordering on your behalf, right? Or of course, or the waiter is ordering on your behalf because he understood your taste, right? Many times you'll see that some waiters will come and they'll talk to you, and then they will order, and you will say okay, right? And the food turns out to be good. That means the waiter correctly understood your taste, correctly understood your requirement, right? So I mean, of course, you won't answer like this in the interview that it is like a waiter, but keep this in mind. This is the difference between illustration and gathering. Okay, or good BA versus bad BA. Bad BA will do the gathering, good BA will do the illustration, bring forth, okay, talk and understand what they want, okay, correct them if they, so of course, waiter will not say you have to order this, right? The waiter will start conversation so that he or she is able to convince you for the particular dish, right? Same way you have to work with your customer. Ultimately, it is the customer's order, right? But you have to play that kind of role. Understood?
Yeah.
So you have to bring out the real need of the customer. Okay, so what do we need as input here? So to perform illustration, okay, there are a variety of techniques, of course. Okay, you need to understand the business objective, right? And based on the business objective, okay, you will talk about the customer need. If customer is saying something which does not fit into the business need, you will have to stop it. You cannot accept it if it doesn't fit, right? So what do we get? Okay, so here it is interesting. Okay, if you remember every step, we spoke about step and a document, step and a document. But this is so important, and of course, this is time consuming as well compared to others. Here, the document writing is is a separate step altogether. In illustration, we don't talk about documentation. Documentation is so important, illustration is so important that we have separated them, right? So first you have to do the illustration, understand, talk to customers, make your own rough notes, and then you go back to your desk and you make a fair document, in the sense you start writing the business case document, not business case, business analyst document. Business case is done, already done, right? So now in this case, you'll talk about what exactly the customer requirement is from the user's perspective, isn't it? So you end up creating those pages of requirements. Okay. So the purpose is to engage the stakeholders, right? What is illustration? It is to engage the stakeholders to elicit the essential needs of the system, not whatever they say, not whatever customer says, but essential needs, right? Or the taste that customer is going to like. Okay. So description determine business requirements, assumptions, current reality, and constraints by communicating with stakeholders using variety of techniques we have discussed before. So you can use any of those techniques: benchmarking, brainstorming, focus group, etc. But main point is engaging and getting the real requirements. Okay. So what kind of knowledge you need here? You need the knowledge of elicitation process, research approaches, okay, different techniques as a BA that we perform, okay, and then the business org and the domain, okay. What skills you need to possess as a business analyst? So the skills that we need to possess is illustration and assessing information, interviewing, conducting collaborative sessions, observation. What is observation? Okay, so the observation, okay, and this, like, I like to give this example. When you go to a retail store, right, especially the big retails, so of course there is some people who will be there to help you, but there will be some people busy doing something. They'll be, going, looking at the tags, okay, scanning the tags, okay. So those are the people who are actually busy working on something, right? The different process in retail, and they are probably counting the stock or making sure that the tags are correct, okay, making sure that information that is there on the rack is correct, right? All those reasons. So what are you doing? You're doing observation, right? So if you have to know what a person does, one way is you ask them, right? Second way to understand is you observe them. So sometimes we observe the business to understand the kind of customers that are coming in, kind of people who spend money there, right? Ultimately, you want the money to be spent there, and that money, total money, should increase, right? So if you know what kind of customers are coming to you, observation, you can target the advertisement and other things based on what kind of customers that you expect to come to your store, right? So those are the different activities that we do, okay, with the stakeholders. Then knowledge, need to have knowledge of these approaches we discussed, right? That's observation, right? Then resolving conflicts. What is resolving conflicts? We discussed this before as well.
Like any disagreements, like one stakeholder,
Yes,
requirements is different and another
correct,
stakeholder.
correct. Not requirement is different. Requirement is same. That's why they are with you. Okay, they're talking
But
different things.
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
what
Conveying
A is saying I want this, B is saying no, I want that. Okay, requirements is same. That's why they're part of same project and they are together with you. But they don't understand. They say this is what I want and this is opposite. Okay, so you have to make sure that they come down to common conclusion before
common
you start.
interest.
Yes, before you start your work. Think abstractly. Okay, so abstract is like without any preconceived notion or being biased. Okay, you have to look at the patterns, look at the requirement, and then you create your documents, right? So this is what we say, think abstractly. And of course, writing, reading, communication skills are important. Okay, the process here is prepare for elicitation, conduct elicitation. That's it, basically. Okay, conducting itself is difficult. With the one line means you're going to talk to multiple stakeholders, conduct multiple interviews, discussions, right? And then we say tracing the requirement. Okay, the requirements that you're getting, every requirement must be traced backward to the business objective. If the requirements which cannot be traced back to business requirement, then that is not the right requirement. That's not what we need. I mean, that's not meeting the objective of the business.
Business.
Then capturing requirements, attributes, who said it, what is the significance, right? So all those things. So you will write the requirements. Along with that, you have to add few other things. Okay, that is what we call as capturing attributes. Okay,
What is scope creep?
Scope creep, right? So see, scope creep is when I told you this example, right? When you are not able to map backward. Okay, see, objective is like your syllabus, right? These are the things that we need to discuss in order to learn BA things. Okay. But sometimes what happens, we deviate from our syllabus, right? We talk about some other things. Now, some other things are not important, but still that is called scope creep. Okay. Creep means things which are not in scope also got into scope.
Okay.
Okay. It could be because of multiple reasons. Now, scope creep is difficult, I mean, is not accepted because why?
Because it's out of scope.
Yeah. So see, it means something which is not in scope has got into the scope. Okay, it's going to cost you more. It's going to take away your timeline. That's the loss that you're making as a company.
Okay.
Right? And use of glossary. So many businesses, they have their own glossary, right? And as a BA, you have to get adjusted to that, right? So that's called use of glossary. Try to use as much as customer glossary so that customer will feel that it's their own product. Right? Yes.
Yes.
These are some of the techniques. Okay. Now I want you to read and explain me one by one. One of you explain me. This is also like an interview only. Okay. Explain me. One of you explain what is brainstorm. Who wants to explain brainstorming?
Brainstorming is like just like a group discussion, like sharing ideas within the discussion between the experts. They share their ideas.
Okay.
And yeah, so through that we can seek the ideas which are lead to solution, which are lead to like reach the needs of the stakeholders, and sequence, they're forming in a sequence, like in a priority basis. The first we gathered a few ideas, right?
So
So
yeah,
we
so
can.
that is second part. Okay, generally we don't include that in brainstorming. Okay,
Okay.
we
Okay.
stop at getting the requirements. Okay? That is second
Yeah.
stage when you finalize. Okay, brainstorming is to get as many ideas as possible. Okay, what is document analysis?
That I don't know.
The meaning is there on the right side.
Document analysis
Yesterday also we
is
discussed
what
this. Yesterday or day before.
can I share my view? A document analysis is what previously in your company, like if you're new joinee, before the BA who is there, they already made a document. They'll have some data. So when we are there, we first we have to see the documents and we have to understand. That time it will be helpful us to do the task better. And if you can understand what is what in the document, that time you can do your work in a proper way. First, you have to study the documents. Then only you can understand what happened in the previous, and excuse me, what happened in the previous when you are not here, and what the requirements, what they did, and is there any drawbacks, like any mistakes, any failure situations, like everything we can understand through the document analysis.
Okay. Okay, so you're reviewing the already existing documents. Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to understand what happened. Okay, and how it was implemented. things like that. 4 is focus group.
Focus group is like a specific. It is also like a group discussion with the specific group, which are expertise like experienced and professionals in particular specific area.
Okay. And
Yeah.
interface analysis.
But I don't know, sorry.
Discussed this so many times. Yeah, we can't go back to the same topic again and again. Once we discuss, second time again, somebody asked me again. I will discuss this third time. I'm asking you. Okay, we have a lot more things to cover. Okay, we have covered only probably 1/3 or 40%. If you, and these are the small stuff. If you get stuck here, then how do we move ahead? Okay, interface analysis is analyzing the different interfaces that your software will have. Interface means talking to other software, talking to other hardware, right? So external interface analysis, external, something which is not developed by you, okay? Or maybe this is a different system altogether. It could be a hardware, it could be software, right? If you are talking about attendance management, then you need to, let's say, facial recognition software you have or biometric you have. So biometric you should be able to connect to the biometric to read somebody's attendance, right? So there you have a software and hardware interface interacting. So when as a software, when you have to interact with some other software or other hardware, is called interface analysis. You should know what other hardware or software that your software will be talking to, so that you will have a mechanism to take the data from the other software or pass the data to other software. Information flows from one system to another, right? So you cannot create a software, cannot create a system which will not interact. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a interface. What is interview?
Interview is like asking questions.
One-to-one.
Stakeholders.
Okay. Observation.
Observation job. Observation is like observing the stakeholders. Why?
Just now we discussed, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, observing.
Job shadowing. Shadowing means you are to understand somebody's work, you are just shadowing. Okay, so you are with that person and you exactly know what that person does in a day. Prototyping.
Prototyping is like already creating the
creating a sample module and following that.
Right. Requirements workshop. So requirement workshop, you see there are 3 types there: illustration workshop, facilitated workshop, JAD, joint application design. Okay, so your job is to get the requirements from the stakeholders, isn't it? So sometimes what happens is, you have more stakeholders to discuss, or maybe there's complex things to discuss. So you conduct a workshop where you will call the experts, right? And you will interview them. All those things will happen over for one full day or half day. Okay, so it's like formal meeting or formal workshop where you invite, and when you invite, it will be more than one person, right? So so that they all can, we all, right? BA and the stakeholders can interact and discuss. Generally, when it is complex, when too many stakeholders involved, it's complex. Stakeholders talking different things, right? There's a confusion. Somebody else says A, other says B, right? So it's better to create a workshop where everybody is there. And also, workshop is useful when you don't know or you don't have much idea about what you want to build, right? If they're building with it for the first time, okay, they don't know what they want from the technical team. So, you create this workshop so that, information can be shared and people will talk about it. And finally, before you close the workshop, you come to a conclusion what needs to be done. Facilitated workshop is where it's like more of focus group discussion. Focus group discussion is a facilitated workshop, okay, where you are, okay, facilitating so that uh, stakeholders together, they can talk. Okay, that is where you're inviting technical person also along with the, okay, it's called joint application design. Okay, this is also good when you don't know, first time you're developing, you don't know what needs to develop. Okay, but this cannot be used for developing big complex softwares. Okay, small software you need to build, or small module you need help. So you bring both technical people and BA together. Generally, what happens is BA will create the documents and technical person will write the create this application. Here, the BA will be sitting, or the stakeholders rather, not BA. BA will be facilitating it. Okay, so you'll bring the stakeholders and technical people together, so the stakeholders can immediately approve or reject the design. So of course, right, something which can be developed in 1 day kind of thing or 2 days kind of thing, that's when you bring them together, and the technical team will develop by sitting with stakeholders, and the stakeholders can give feedback immediately. Right? This is not sustainable. I mean, you can't work on like this for 6 months or even for a month, right? This is good for quick application, or when you have doubt, you don't know, or you or the stakeholder doesn't know exactly how it should be. That's when you bring it, okay, and you just facilitated the session. So that's why you can have illustration workshop where the focus is on getting the illustration. Could be facilitated workshop where you're facilitating and making sure that stakeholders themselves will talk and give the. Okay, so I was saying that the joint between technical and the stakeholders, they'll work together to create the joint application design. What is reverse engineering? Reverse engineering is when you have the final output and you don't know how it was developed. Okay, so let's say you're working on an old system, okay, and you need to improve the old system, and you search for the documents, you don't find any documents. It's old system and the documents are lost. Okay, you don't know where they are. So then you do the reverse engineering. Already the software is created. So generally, the practice is that you create these documents, and these documents will help the technical team to create the software. Your software is already created, right? And you are creating the documents. You are trying to understand the process. Okay, that's called reverse engineering. Survey is, when you need input from multiple people, so you create questionnaire and you distribute into people, and then based on the response you get, you will analyze and come to your conclusion. So these are some techniques that you will use as a BA. Okay, now here you see, okay, what is the first step?
Elicitation.
Requirements elicitation, right? So you end up creating what is called as use case model. Okay, we'll talk about, we'll wrap up in 5 minutes. Okay, tomorrow we'll, you get time to practice tomorrow. So we'll just do this and we'll stop here. So here requirement elicitation, okay, we end up creating a use case. Now the requirements elicitation has 5 other steps or 5 other things that happens. Now the involvement of BA, okay, depends upon the BA's background also. Okay, if you are more of a technical background, your involvement with other 5 stages will be higher. Okay, if you are more of a business oriented, you'll have higher engagement level at the previous stages than the next stages. So there are 5 stages which you see is coming out of requirement elicitation, right? The first one is called analysis. Okay, analysis is okay, converting the requirements that you've understood into some kind of template or some kind of modules. Okay, when I say modules, it means the bigger soft problem broken down into smaller solution.
Smaller parts.
Yes, each of them can be independently. So, and this is what analyst, data analyst or this IT analyst will do. Okay, understand the problem and break it down to smaller part. Then you have system design. Okay, from the analysis, okay, each of the smaller module they will start developing. So you'll have different multiple teams working on each of these modules, and they will start design. So here still we are not writing the code. Still we are not writing the code, okay, but we are trying to break down that modules into smaller design which are understood, or we call them as subsystems. Then so from system design you're doing detailed design. Okay, so detailed design, okay, generally we create class level diagrams or ER diagrams. We'll talk about it in detail. Okay, then so this is more technical. Okay, as you're going towards right side, it is getting more and more technical. Okay, then finally is implementation. Okay, so implementation is writing the code, and generally writing the code can be done by youngsters. Okay, fresher level, because the experienced people will focus more on analysis and system design and detailed design. The detailed design will be such detail that people can just by looking at the diagram they can start writing the code. Okay, you don't need to think while writing the code. Okay, and finally you have to do the testing. Okay, testing is like how well have you implemented the requirements. So you have done the code, but does it meet the requirement? Okay, that's what we test in testing. Okay, so you have requirements, analysis, system design, detailed design, implementation, writing code, and then testing. Okay. Okay, I want you to read this slide. Who will read this slide for me?
What does the customer say?
Okay, can you read it now?
A bird in the bush. Two doves are there.
Right. So there are two doves. Okay, what does that mean? So we don't know, right? So what this picture says is, when customer says, right, you have to first listen to the customer, appreciate what customer says. Now, the can be wrong also, right? Or it could be correct also, right? But you cannot presume that double the is wrong. You cannot presume that it is a bird in the bush and maybe customer has written other the by mistake. No. First, you could be, okay? Not saying that it's not, could be. But first you acknowledge it, talk to customer saying this is what I see. Does it, do you really mean this, right? So they'll say, no, I don't mean this, okay, there's a mistake. Or no, I really mean this. So going back to the waiter, let's say, 4 people ordering, let's say 8 soup. It's their wish, they can order 8 soup. But you can ask them, right? Do you really mean to order 8 soup? Oh, no, we don't mean to order soup. We wanted to order snack, but I think by mistake. Possible. Also, no, yes, we want to drink 2 cups of soup, right? Right? So your job is to first accept. You cannot presume that it is, customer does not said or customer doesn't mean. Okay, and then you will talk to customer and see if that can be changed or if that's what customer wants, right? So we'll stop here. Okay. Please prepare till the enterprise analysis itself. Okay, we'll have a separate. So we'll have 2 more interviews. Okay, one on the illustration part when we are done, and third will be on testing and agile methodology. Okay. Sounds good?
Then tomorrow's interview is on illustration. Or?
Same thing, what we did yesterday,
Okay.
extension of that.
Okay.
Okay. We'll have a few more questions. I think yesterday we're looking at long answers, but tomorrow, preferably, I'll focus on questions where we can answer in short. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. But please do practice. Okay. Do read.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
Thank
See
you,
you
sir.
tomorrow then. Yeah, sure. Welcome. See you tomorrow. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.